You're listening to Media Savvy Moms with Melody and Marilyn. Open, honest conversations about parenting and pornography.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Media Savvy Moms. Today we are going to talk about what teens want parents to know, kind of the conversations about their life and especially how it relates to pornography. And to do that, we've brought in a younger guest today. His name is Creed Orme, and he is a student at Brigham Young University. He is in his final semester studying family life. His hopes are to move on to a career in psychotherapy. And as an adolescent, as a teenager, he did struggle with pornography addiction. So he's really got a great perspective to share with us. Currently, he is a co-host for Reach 10's podcast called Breaking the Silence, and he's going to tell us more about that in a bit. But right now, I'm going to turn the time over to Melody and Creed.
Thanks, Marilyn. Welcome to the show, Creed.
Thank you so much. It's great to be on it. Thank you for having me.
We're excited to have you on the show. We were talking a little bit before when we were prepping about this is a real cross section for our two podcasts. And we were laughing because we're not college students anymore and he's not a parent yet. So this is really a cross section between the two podcasts and we're excited to be able to connect with each other. And even though we feel like we were just in college, right, Marilyn?
Absolutely.
And it's fun too because we're both alums of BYU, and now we have a visitor from our old stomping grounds. So, tell us about Reach 10. Tell us about life over there, and how long have you been involved with this organization, and what you do, and your podcast. What's going on over there?
Great. Well, Reach 10 is an organization catered to young adults. It was started in Provo by director Vonna Davis in 2017. Vonna noticed a kind of lack of comfort and ability for young adults to discuss pornography and healthy sexuality. So she really wanted to spearhead an organization that helped us young adults be able to get comfortable with these subjects because, as we all know, connection is anti-pornography. That real connection helps against pornography use. And being able to talk about it and share honest and open feelings is definitely helpful and gets rid of this shame, silence, and fear type of culture that can often surround pornography.
Mm-hmm.
That invites a culture of connection, courage, and compassion. So that's the focus of Reach 10. It's getting young adults together to get comfortable talking about pornography and healthy sexuality so that we can together help each other overcome pornography and, just have a better, healthier culture.
Awesome. Courage, connection, compassion. Is that kind of like the focus? Is that an official statement from Reach 10?
Correct. Reach 10 has used aspects of Brene Brown's research, that of the power of vulnerability and how being courageous to be open and honest with one's feelings, intentions, with their heart can also foster connection and being compassionate with other people's stories and where they are on their journey all contribute to a healthy culture. So that's what we've kind of taken and run with as an organization, is these aspects to create a healthier, happier, more connected culture where we can all improve and accomplish our goals a little bit better.
Love it. That culture of connection. I love that you guys are working to create it together as peers and to get rid of that shame. You talked about getting rid of the shame. That's something we're really big on at Media Savvy Moms. What we're hoping to do is to break down those barriers of shame and awkwardness then to between parents and teens to kind of open up that that culture that you're making between you as peers, and then like, can we come in too?
Right.
To bring in so that we have that family dynamic going on too, right? And so that's why we have you on, because we want to be on the inside. Like, we want to know how to get there too. So basically, you're roughly as old as the internet is, right? Your generation, you guys started. I mean, do you remember as a child a time where there wasn't internet in your house?
Yeah, as for me, I don't remember a time. I was born in 1993, which I believe was the first time the World Wide Web kind of really started,
Hmm.
was at least around that time, if not that same year. So as soon as I was, going into older grade school, we definitely had internet in the house.
Yeah. So for for me, I remember I got home after my freshman year and my parents had gotten AOL and I was like, "What? We have it in our house?" It was so weird, right? So we're talking to you from like you're a native, right? You're a digital native. Like this is your language. This is what you speak.
Correct. I don't remember a time not having the internet.
So we want to know um around the time that we started having internet, very few parents thought it was a huge threat to their kids, right? It was just like a new thing in the house, and we were using it, and it filters weren't really a thing back then, right? Because it was just there. It was boom. It was in our house. So how badly did we miss the mark?
I honestly think that all parents did the best they could. I mean, what more could you do?
Aw, you're so easy on us. You're so nice.
Well, the average parent wants to do the best they can, right? And that's the belief that I have. And how could those who didn't grow up digitally with the internet, how could they fathom that something like this would have happened? Um, maybe were some foretellings of what the internet could bring, but nobody knew how to manage that or how to steer clear of the unhealthy things aspects of the internet. So overall, people did the best they could.
That's very kind. That's a very nice review of our progress as a culture. I appreciate the grace that you're giving us. I have read about the statistics of these rising generations, and it's really interesting, isn't it? We're like a living, breathing. You guys are, and the rising generations, a living, breathing social experiment that we're exposing our kids to these dangers online, and screens and all of these things, and really have no idea what kind of an effect they're going to have until the generations are older, and then we can have research and find out what it did after the fact, right? And so we're doing our best, we really are. And so what we want to do is go back to square one. We want to create that open communication as a family, because that's where it's at. That's where we got to work on this. I think we're all getting to that same place, with Media Savvy Moms, with Reach 10, that filters are great, and technology, fighting the evil of technology is great, but people and connections are better, don't we think?
Totally. So, some aspects of my growing up in this digital age that was new to the world. Sure, we didn't know too much about how technology worked, or at least what it could completely bring, or how to help guide our children, and steer them away from the unhealthy and dark aspects of the internet. But with that too, I believe, at least from the culture that I grew up in within my family, and from what I've learned from most of my peers as I attend Brigham Young University, uh, us coming from a conservative Christian culture primarily,
Hmm.
that of lack of discussion, openness, and honesty discussion about healthy sexuality. So I think
Hmm.
the the two together, lack of technology understanding, but also a lack of openness and honest communication about sexuality, the two together kind of create a, oh, what's that word? Just like the
Perfect storm.
perfect storm, exactly. Yeah, where a child inevitably just curious about, oh, what are these feelings of attraction that I have? What is this sexuality thing? I don't know what's going on inside my body, what's happening to me, but it feels good. And
Hmm.
I know that when I see this picture, I like it. and that's all I know. And so I'm going to keep looking at this picture. So despite simple talks about pornography, there needs to be um, a knowledge of technology with a knowledge of how to have open and honest communication about sexuality. In my estimation, is where we need to, what we especially need to learn from my generation's social experiment.
Ah, I love it. So I hear you talking about kind of a threefold mission on the parenting side, that we're not just talking about pornography in isolation with our kids. We also need to be talking about technology, and we need to be talking about healthy sexuality. So a combination of all three of those things, talking about tech, talking about porn, talking about sex. If we're having open conversations about all of those things, then we're getting somewhere. Yeah?
Right, totally. I
Cool.
I
Love it.
love this phrase where I mean, it's been learned through research. I'm a pretty research like nerdy guy. I like research that has to do with family life.
Mhm.
And one thing that is clear is that standing for something as opposed to just standing against something is stronger, more motivating, more propelling. It's more positive too. So I love the aspect of standing for healthy sexuality as
Mhm.
opposed to just fighting against pornography or other unhealthy aspects of sexuality. Because if we just fight against something, it's kind of negative. But if we stand for something that's healthy and good, which is healthy sexuality, and pornography use is not an aspect of healthy sexuality, then we have something to fill that void with. So I always cater to that standing.
Yeah, love it. Absolutely. Actually, Educate and Empower Kids has buttons and a T-shirt, which actually I was wearing at the C Summit, that says "Sex good, porn bad." And I love it. I love that because that says it right there, right? And we like to talk about at Media Savvy Moms, sex is not porn and porn is not sex. And we teach our kids about healthy sexuality, and that is then when they see the counterfeit, they're going to be like, that's not what I learned about, right? So yeah, I love that
Exactly.
standing for something and fighting for something. And of course, we all know fight the new drug is fight for love, fight for healthy sexuality, and reach 10 is fighting for connection, fighting for human relationships, and fighting for what were the three C's?
Yeah,
Connection,
courage, connection, and compassion.
courage, connection, and compassion. There's your banner to wave right there. There are your things to fight for: courage, compassion, and connection. And for us as parents, fighting for teaching our kids about healthy sexuality. Great start to this conversation. I can't wait to get into your personal story. We're going to talk to Creed about that when we come back for our break. And we're going to take a little stop here, and we'll come back and talk to Creed. People are always asking us, what is the best way to start the sex talk with my kids? And I love to recommend the book 30 Days of Sex Talks by Educate and Empower Kids. This is such a great book for so many reasons, one of which is that it's divided into 3 age-appropriate volumes. One is ages 3 to 7, one ages 8 to 11, and one for ages 12 and up. Because let's face it, you are not going to have the same sex talks with your 3-year-old as you are with your 16-year-old. 30 Days of Sex Talks contains the most meaningful discussions you're going to have with your child, made easy. Inside the book is a code that will allow you to download topic cards that you can print out and place in strategic locations like a mirror, the refrigerator, or in your pocket to remind you and your child to start talking. They've made it easy to engage your child in conversations about relationships, affection, anatomy, boundaries, predators, online dangers, and many other vital topics. Look for the 30 Days of Sex Talks on Amazon or visit the Educate and Empower Kids website at educateempowerkids.org. And we're back, and we are talking with Creed Orme about all sorts of great stuff. We're talking about connecting with our teens, about pornography addiction, about healthy sexuality. And during the break, we were talking about a great resource that he has and he wants to share with us. And then we promise we'll move on and we'll talk to him about his story. So, Creed, do you want to share that resource with us real quick?
Yes. So there's this amazing book that has, let's see, I think it was published last year. Sure, I'm a huge fan of Brigham Young University professors, but I say that what they teach is truth. Their research is awesome. They do great research about healthy sexuality within the family and family communication. There's this awesome book called A Better Way to Teach Kids About Sex, and it is by uh, multiple professors at BYU. And the catchphrase underneath that is no more metaphors and object lessons, just open communication.
Love it. I'm laughing because I know the ones they're referring to, like, you are a slice of cake. You don't want people to lick off your frosting. You're like, what the heck are they talking about? Right? Like, I
Yeah,
don't. Marilyn's making faces. I don't tell me you never had that lesson. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, there are some weird analogies out there, and I think that's a great lead in. So thank you. Thanks for sharing that. We will put that in the links and resources. So we just wanted to make sure we got that in before we veer off in another direction with our conversation. Thanks for sharing, Creed.
yeah, no problem.
Um, so we promised before we left off on the break that we would go and delve into your story a little bit. And this is a bonus because we got Creed on to talk because he's from Reach 10, and then we found out he's got a pretty cool story to share with us. And I'm gonna not steal his thunder. Why don't you go ahead and tell us whatever you want to tell us, Creed?
Awesome. I'd say that it's only a cool story because I've learned great things from it and I've been able to come to a very much healthier place in life. So, as mentioned before, I struggled with pornography, an actual addiction to it as well. I fell into it when I always say 10 or 11. It's hard to remember what age, but about 10 or 11,
Mm-hmm.
I think fifth grade. And it was rough. So, um, this is why I'm so passionate about healthy communication from parents to children about open and honest communication about sexuality. Because, I mean, like many of my peers, I grew up in a household with amazing parents, amazing family. I was taught so many great principles, but unfortunately, just one aspect of the conservative culture was simply not this open and honest discussion about sexuality, which I believe hindered my ability to break free from pornography earlier on or to understand what I was getting into.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, I was talked to about pornography. Um, I can only remember maybe once or twice or a couple times by my parents. Just shut it off if you see it. This is what it is. Shut it off when you see it. And I was going to abide by that. But another aspect of this is that I also experience same sex attraction. I'm attracted to men. And so when I went to pornography, I went to look at the men. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I saw that, I was just like, oh, I'm just curious. I'm just learning about myself or about other men, other men seeing naked men here and there, like in a locker room, for example. And it's not a big deal. So this is harmless. Growing up, I was only taught, well, got to watch out for those scantily clad women. Got to watch out
Ah,
for women pornography. It's not a good way to look at them. It's not healthy. It's not good. So all I heard was watch out for the women. I didn't hear
wow. I've never
watch.
thought about that before.
Yeah, I never thought. I mean, I never thought that I would, first of all, be attracted to men. Second of all, that it was pornography if it was of my same sex also.
Hmm.
So that is an interesting part of my story where I easily got wrapped up into it. I kind of self-denied that it was something harmful to me, simply because I wasn't ever told, right, that it could be something harmful if it was of the same sex. So I struggled with it for quite a bit of time, turned into an addiction, and I kept it secret, and it cut me off emotionally from my relationships, from my family, from friends. It was dark and it was hard, but I still lived a good life. But that's definitely an aspect of my life that I wish could have been different.
Hmm.
So I finally got the courage to open up to my parents because I was like, I'm done trying to stop this on my own because I can't. I can't stop this on my own. I need to talk to someone about this. These talks in church about pornography and talking to people about it, that those are for me. This is pornography and this is harmful for me. So I got to talk to someone.
Hmm.
So I was able to gather my courage and I spoke with my parents. My junior year of high school, I was about 16 or 17 years old, open up to them about my addiction to pornography, to my compulsive habit with masturbation as well, and that the fact that it was gay pornography. So all hard things, but it was the best thing I could have done. And my parents luckily responded with compassion and with love.
Yay.
We weren't sure on both sides how to talk about it really well. So that was kind of awkward and kind of, um, hard over the years, but we gradually learned how to talk about it. And and it was great. Like that propelled my journey to recovery was finally opening up to my parents, then opening up to church leaders about it. Um, and so I'm all for healthy, open, and honest communication with parents because that's what allowed me to recover from an addiction to pornography.
Wow. Wow. Wow, Creed. I So, full disclosure, I did not delve in and research your story before you came on, and so this is really sweet and tender, that this ties in so well with really what we need to talk about. Because I didn't know that you were basically rescued by open communication with family. It was awkward and it was hard, and you had to learn as you go. Um, Man, I mean, isn't that kind of the name of the game with all of this stuff that, and it's kind of a running theme with us through this show, right? We don't know what we're doing. There's no parenting manual for everybody of how to deal with pornography and sexuality in this generation and tech that's going to be one size fits all cookie cutter for every family and every child that's going to work. We got to communicate and learn and grow and do it together in a way that's going to work for each child and each family and each parent, right? But it's hard work. And man, it took a huge amount of courage on your part, too. So I have to say, um, it's remarkable to me that you had so much courage to come to your parents. And that says a lot for your parents, too, that you felt like that it was a safe place that you could come to them. So go your parents. Awesome, awesome story, beautiful story. So, from your perspective, as you're going through this addiction, you're going through this recovery, what did you feel like you needed from your parents besides you said you needed open communication? Anything else that you can think of specifically that you needed besides just that open communication?
For sure. I would have to say that, I mean, and the answer to everything, right? I would say that it's love. I think the
Mm,
reason I opened up to my parents was because I knew that they would still love me despite despite the fear of letting them know what I was actually dealing with because there was a ton of shame surrounding it. Um, and I was definitely afraid that, I don't know, I would be rejected also, but there was enough love that they had established in the relationship that I felt at least good enough to share that with them. And our love for each other and the love I feel from them has only increased because of open and honest communication. So as you were talking about, Melody, I believe it does go both ways. As a parent, I will pray every day that I create a loving, healthy, open, honest atmosphere for my child. At the same time, I also just pray that my children will be, take that step of courage because with anything, it takes courage to speak one's own heart and open up. So I'll say that is what should be the focus for every parent is focus on having a good relationship with your child that is based on love. And then because at the beginning, my parents and I, we still didn't have good communication about sexuality. I still had to learn over the years what sexuality was, what was good about sex, what was beautiful about it, how it worked. Many different, like, please help change my mind from what I learned in pornography, because that's not healthy sexuality. So teach me what healthy sexuality is. I had to. A lot of that learning actually came from my own research with what I felt was safe material. For example, other books about sexual wholeness from Brigham Young University that I felt comfortable with. But then I started opening it up with my parents too and asking them questions. So we didn't start off with good communication about sexuality, but at least there was a basis of love and a good relationship to where I could open up. And I think that's what every parent wants. So I'd say that that's what should be the focus.
Awesome. So I'm hearing from you love, 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 love,
Yeah.
love, open communication, and a safe place to ask questions. I'm hearing flexibility to understand that you're going to need to learn. And I'm hearing patience, a patience with yourself, patience with ourselves as parents, and an understanding that there's room to grow. And so beautiful, beautifully done, beautifully put. Um, I Marilyn and I were talking before the show about puzzling as parents as to what role our kids need us to play in general when it comes to pornography and healthy sexuality. Do they need us to be a friend? Do they need tough love? Do they need a confidant? In your opinion, I mean, I hear you with the open communication. Do they need an authority figure? Like, what kind of a role, like, are any of these terms resonating with you? Tough love, confidant, friend,
Okay.
what kind of what do you think teens need from parents when it comes to this subject?
Right. So as a teenager, as teens, we are starting to move into more autonomy. And it's definitely, I mean, I'm not a parent yet, but I can definitely empathize with the tricky balance that it is of knowing how much freedom to offer my child, how much space, because they're growing into themselves as a teenager. How much should I be stringent upon restrictions, that tough love and such, which I believe there's a time and place for everything and stages. I do believe that providing opportunities of autonomy for teenagers is definitely a very healthy, developmental mindset.
Mhm.
This book that I mentioned, A Better Way to Teach Kids About Sex, definitely dives into more that balance of giving autonomy, but also having these high expectations. So the best is high love, high expectations, as
Hmm.
opposed to low expectations, low love, and vice versa, all the different things. High expectations and high love is typically the best in research. So um, I would say at least, though, it would have been helpful for me, and I've spoken with my parents about this before already, but I believe as being a teenager growing into my autonomy, it would have been helpful for me more so to understand the humanity of my own parents. For
Oh.
example, I felt like they, well, at least like my parents were either perfect or
Mhm.
knew everything that was right, knew all the answers, um, and had everything together and didn't make many mistakes in life. And me moving into this mistake of pornography and other sexual misbehaviors of like masturbation, I felt like I was an imperfect one, and I couldn't ever be like my parents, and I couldn't, like, I was what's the word, failing at life basically. So
Mhm.
I think learning as a teenager that, boy, my parents have great experience and great wisdom, and it's important that, first of all, living in their household, that that's their house, that I should abide by their precepts, but also that that they are human and that they make mistakes and
Mm,
that they have fears, that they have things they're unsure about, things that they don't know how to do. Um, that they apologize, that they make mistakes and own up to their mistakes with their own children too. That that with my parents would have helped me to decrease the shame I had surrounding pornography.
mm,
I believe, and would have helped me to grapple with, oh, sure, this is something I struggle with, but that doesn't have uh, any decision upon my own value or worth as a human being. It's just something I'm working on and something I'll continue to work on, and I can still be a good person despite this struggle that I have.
right. We've talked about on the show shame versus guilt. Shame is I am a mistake and it's permanent, and guilt is I made a mistake. I'm a work in progress, right? It's okay to feel guilt and to want to change. It's not okay to feel shame like I am a mistake and I can never be fixed. And so what I'm hearing now is add to the list. One of the things you need from parents is vulnerability. You need us to be able to be real with you and to it's okay. You mean it's okay for us not to be perfect? Yay!
Correct. Yes.
Good, because we're gonna make some mistakes as we do this, and, it's nice to know that we can say we're sorry and we're not gonna get this right all the time, and to admit that to you guys too. So, well, great talk. I think that we're probably about ready to wrap up and get our recap from Marilyn.
Yeah, I don't even know where to start. There's so much great stuff here. But just to recap, Reach 10 is about creating a culture of connection. And as you just heard Melody say, it's about the power of vulnerability, and that's going to connect with how we parent. As parents, we're going to do our very best, and we should understand that we're not going to be perfect, but do our best to understand three things, and that's technology, talking to kids about porn, and being open with them on subjects that matter, like healthy sexuality. And Creed suggested that we try to stand or fight for something rather than stand or fight against something, and that something being pornography. That if we can take a positive spin, it's all the better. We're so grateful for Creed for opening up and sharing that powerful story of what it's like to be a teen, and not always understanding that the images and videos that you're looking at can be so harmful, or that they're even the things that your parents have told you to avoid. A lot of times we don't appreciate that what we perceive as pornography and what kids perceive as pornography could be two different things. He talked about how finally opening up was actually the best thing that he could do. And so grateful that he has wonderful parents who were willing to listen and respond with love. He talked about love being the key, and that if we can combine high love with high expectations, that's really when we're going to win in this communication struggle that we have with teens at times, because we're all going to struggle at times. And so grateful for all these wonderful points. And I'm going to turn it back to Melody and Creed again.
Yep, it's all you, Creed. We need our challenge for the week, and I think you have something prepared for us.
Yes. So my challenge for all listeners for this week is to take a moment and an experience during this week where you can pause and just listen to your child, wherever they are, however old they are. I believe that listening is an extremely important aspect of loving. And as your child can sense that you are seeking to understand without judgment, I believe that that can create an environment of safety. Also, to keep in mind that sure, there's having same-sex attraction or other experience of sexuality, for example, gender dysphoria, is a minority type of issue. But keep in mind that maybe one of your children has that, and to listen to how they experience sexuality is also important, I would say. So listening, learning, and loving is my challenge for you.
Thank you, Creed.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you like what you heard, remember to subscribe. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram, or email us directly at mediasavvymoms@gmail.com. We'd love to get your feedback.